webinar, just so everybody knows. But we'll get everybody in here, and oh my goodness, I'm a little rusty at running these webinars, but we'll get it up and going here. And sorry, you asked me how I was, and then I didn't even ask you how you were.
You are fine. It is. I feel like it's morning. I'm good. I'm grateful that it was this week because my toddlers brought home a really icky germ, and my husband and I have been so sick the last 2 weeks. And I actually had laryngitis for the first week. So I've got my cough drops here in case I go into a mad coughing fit, and I'll just mute myself. But yeah, other than that, doing great.
Well, children are definitely the greatest. What was that? I was reading a book or watching a movie or something where somebody said they were a third grade teacher. They have the greatest immune system ever because they're just constantly being bombarded. And I remember when my kids were young, I felt like we were never going to get healthy. Welcome everybody who's joining us as we're just chit-chatting while we get everyone in here and all of the things going. Feel free to open up that chat box and say hello. Let us know where you are coming in. If you're not like, where am I? Did I just pop into the middle of a you are here at the Women in Publishing Summit webinar. We were just having a little bit of a catch-up moment there. All right, let's see. Is the chat function working? Usually I see chats by there. There we go. I see.
Yeah, I just got one. Just a test.
There we go. Oh, people are putting them in the Q&A box. So let's, it says the chat box is just.
Yep.
Oh, that's weird.
Oh, so we have a chat and a Q&A.
To enable the chat box.
Oh, chat is disabled.
That is very strange. Okay, y'all, you know me. If you've been in this crew for a while, there's always something.
Here, I got it. I changed it.
Were you able to?
I was able to change it to host and panelist. So somebody try chatting with us. There we go.
Now, where did you do that?
There we go.
So down in the chat box, the 3 little dots that mean, everything for everywhere. It said no one for attendees. So I just changed it.
I wonder if that's a new thing that Zoom has just thrown in there to keep us all on our toes.
Probably. But yes, somebody said kids are little germ factories, and they are. And my twins didn't even get sick from it. We got sick, the parents got sick. So I was like, that's not very fair. In my opinion.
Oh my gosh, of course not. That's a good point. It does say that only hosts and panelists can see. Hold on, panelists can chat with. Okay, we're moving it to everyone. I think we got it now. Hopefully, we'll see. We were just talking about the fight against the school lunch policies, Dana, right before we went on here. And yes, I'm going to the board meeting tonight to ask them why, when we have $38 million for COVID spending that they don't know what to do with, why they can't pay for our children's lunch. But that's a whole different topic that we are not here to cover tonight. So, all right, I think everybody who's supposed to be here should have had a moment now to get in there, and we should be live on Facebook. So if for whatever reason, you want to quickly find the replay before we're able to put it back up today, you can always go to Facebook. We will have the replay up on our YouTube channel by the end of the day, maybe tomorrow. We asked for 24 hours, but we will get this up there. So, okay, welcome everybody. So I'm Alexa Big Wharf. If it's been a while since or if you're new to our community, if you're new to us, if you just saw this on Facebook and decided to register, I'm the host of the Women in Publishing Summit, which is an annual conference that celebrates women and those who identify as women, authors, writers, publishers, editors, graphic designers, book coaches, book everything, book marketers, author assistants, publishing assistants, all of those things. But we also maintain monthly training and webinars and all of those things to keep people continuing to receive education throughout the year, because as we all know, there's a lot to learn and do, which is going to wrap up nicely into our topic today. There's a lot to know and do, and obviously 1 week a year doesn't give us the time span that we need to cover all of those things. So our sponsor webinars each month are a great way for us to keep the discussion and education going. So with that, I want to introduce one of our sponsors for the Women in Publishing Summit, Aurora Publicity. And I'm going to allow the ladies to introduce themselves here on their own so that they can tell you what they really want you to know about them. But if you listen to the podcast, you heard an interview with Samantha and Ashley, what we did on, I believe, just talking globally, what you do with Lit Ring and Aurora and all those kinds of things. But today we're going to dig into author services because, you know, top 5 questions we get all the time, after like how to find an editor, how to write a book, how to publish a book, all those kinds of things, is how to find somebody to help me do these things, how to find a virtual admin, or how to find a publishing assistant, how to find somebody who can help me market my book. And, you know, oddly, I feel like when people reach out to me and say, do you know someone who can help me market your book? Until I came across you guys, I really didn't have a lot of good answers for people. We were doing done for you launch services for quite a while, but we stopped doing that because it was just too much with all of the other things happening. And I honestly did not know very many other people in the capacity that were trained specifically to work with authors or offered services at a reasonable rate. And I found it, you know, I didn't know who to send people to necessarily. So I was really glad when Aurora came along, because you're going to tell everybody what all you do, but there's so many places that you may need help along your journey. And, you know, sometimes you need someone or a team to help you in the self-publishing sphere. So that's my introduction here to it. I do want to say quickly, if you're not following our events, we do these webinars once. We're now doing about 2 a month. So go to womeninpublishingsummit.com/events. Make sure you register for the webinars. And now I'm just going to pass it over to y'all and let you tell us about Aurora and what you offer.
Yeah, thank you, Alexa. And we were honored to be able to speak at the Publishing Summit, and that was such a great event. We were guests last year. We spoke this year. We look forward to it every year. And we're also doing another webinar, more BookBub focused this fall. So we definitely love doing things, collaborating. That's what this industry is about, how we lift each other up and we help each other reach those goals. So before I dive into anything else, I am Samantha. I am the owner and founder and publicity director for Aurora Publicity. I kind of fell into publishing from my corporate marketing background and found my very first author to work with through a Twitter chat. So it was kind of a unique and very, I guess, unorthodox way to land a job, but it worked for me. And now, you know, 7, 8 years later, I'm still in publishing, and Aurora Publicity is created and grown. And so here we are. And I'm going to pass it to Ashley. And then Ashley, you can introduce Rachel and just tell them a little bit about each of you. Oh, I guess one interesting fact, and I'd like for us all to do this, is we were talking about little kids being germ factories. I have twins, and they are 2.5 years old. So when I'm not, you know, basically corralling authors, I'm chasing 2-year-olds. So, you know, authors, toddlers, there's some similarities, I'm not going to lie. But all right, Ashley.
Hi there. So I'm Ashley. I am Aurora's manager and then also our publishing director. I actually come from a administrative background in nursing. So I have my bachelor's in nursing and education, and did a long time in that. And then, you know, I had a huge love for books and for publishing, and Sam needed some help because she was getting ready to, you know, pop there. And so I came over to help with some of the administrative and management tasks with Aurora, and just kind of just fell into it and found a new love. Love working with authors, love being an author advocate. I feel like I was an advocate for patients when I worked as a nurse, still a nurse. And now I love being able to do that and transfer my administrative skills as well as my organizational skills and research focus from the publishing side of things now. I do not have toddlers. I have three teenagers, two high schoolers and middle schooler. And they feel like toddlers sometimes though. So kind of the same thing. But I'll let Rachel introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Rachel Perez. I've been working with Aurora for 2 years now. And before that, I've been working with writing related things for a long time. I started with because I'm an author myself. I started with trying to query agents, attending lots of writing conferences, and then I shifted gears to indie publishing. And so, with indie publishing, you kind of have to become a jack of all trades and learn all the different routes to marketing. And so that's kind of where I got my start in this. Now with Aurora, I'm the project and strategy manager. And so I help with marketing and with general assistant tasks with my own clients. I also have children. I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And they are a lot, but never a dull moment with them. My husband and I say that all the time, like our life would be so boring without them.
It would be, yeah.
Yes, very true.
Awesome. So yes, as you can see, like I said in the beginning, we lift each other up. And since Aurora was created, I thought I was just going to be an author assistant and work with great authors, and then realized, nobody can learn everything in this industry and it changes on a dime. So I started bringing in, support who could grow with us, who I enjoy working with, our authors enjoy working with, and everybody has like a area that they focus in on. So before we dive too deep into that, let's see. So if you could put in the chat, what do you think an author assistant does? I would love to hear your definition of what an author assistant does. There's so many different things and ways you could refer to an author assistant. You'll hear it on the street, on the scene, as a PA or a VA, or we just call them author assistants because they can do just a ton of stuff. But let's see, Don says sanity saver. That is what we should start calling our team. I love that. Yes, social media help, to help with getting the book formatted. That's an assistant. Yes, an assistant can totally do that, but we're gonna talk a little bit later about kind of the different areas of an assistant, and you might need help in certain areas and not in the other. So social media, book launch, advertising assistant, extra mind and set of hands, says Madison. That's exactly right. So an author assistant is really a sounding board for fresh and new ideas. They can be your research hand. They are an extra set of hands or a cheer squad. You might cry like a toddler if you get a bad review and they're there to pat you on the back and tell you it's okay. That reviewer didn't know anything and you are the best. So they come in a lot of shapes and forms, and they can do a lot on the motivational side. But in terms of, how to help you free up your time, it's really, we kind of break it down into 3 areas. And we deem it as administrative tasks. So your website updates, prize management, organization. This could be, if you have a long backlist, it could be cataloging those books, making sure your promotions are on schedule. Just really think of like anything administrative and organizational. Then they can do marketing tasks. So your social media, your graphics, run giveaways for you, handle cross promotions, ARCs, reviews, strategy and planning, launches, newsletters. The list goes on and on. And then we have our specialty tasks. So these are, I think what sets Aurora apart is that we've built out these areas and these departments so that these assistants really focus in on that niche, because not all author assistants do these things. So these are your specialty tasks, which is publishing, like Ashley's department. We have a formatting team, an editing team, branding, advertising. So, when you're looking for an assistant, if those specialty tasks are important to you, then you need to make sure you're finding an assistant of doing those, because those are the tasks that not every assistant really is skilled to do or is knowledgeable at doing. But we will provide a list for all of these tasks and these breakdowns. So don't feel like you have to scribble down any kind of notes or anything. We have a handout, Alexa. So I don't know if we can link it here, but either way, we'll get it to you. We have a handout and that'll be for you, so that as you go on and look for that assistant, you'll have a pretty good guide of what tasks you can ask if they do or not.
That's awesome. Do y'all have a specific link to it? We can drop that, or we'll make sure it's with the
I can get the link here. Give me two.
Yeah, Ashley can drop it in there. It also has a coupon code for everybody if you are published already and you want to do a Lit Ring promotion. There's a $5 off coupon in that list, or in that sheet that Ashley's going to link. So,
oh, the PDF. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
Yeah, I think we can drop that right in chat, but
I think we should be able to. Yep. I'm going to drop it in here, and if you guys could just let me know, try to go to it and just make sure you're able to access it. It should be able to.
Yeah, let me click it too, just to make sure. But it is loading. So while that's loading,
Yep, it works.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's got a list of common tasks and projects. It's got everything basically I just said in kind of like a notes breakdown. So you can have that, save it, reference it, and all good. All right. All right, Ashley.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going into something else. Okay. So I guess now that we've kind of discussed what an author assistant can do for you is, do you need an author assistant? We get this question a lot, and sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. Do you guys feel like you're ready for an author assistant? I mean, do you think that you're at a point, just like a raise of hands? Yes, no, maybe so. They're saying not yet. And so, and I'm glad to see the not yet from some people, because you're realizing for yourself right now that you might not be there. You know, when you're first starting out and you're kind of overwhelmed and you're looking at all the different things that you have to do, because let's be real, this is a very complicated business. There's a lot to it. Marketing and advertising and publishing and branding. I mean, it just goes on, right? So we'll have a lot of authors that come to us that are debut authors that are getting ready to publish their first book. But are you really ready for an assistant? Should your money is it best spent on an assistant right now? Or should you wait for maybe a couple books to do a release and to start building your social media on your own and generating that revenue so that your assistant has something to work with? Okay. Some of the identifiers for when you are ready for an assistant would be if you're overwhelmed with all those tasks that we're talking about, right? You've got a lot going on. You've got a big backlist. It's hard to keep maybe your promo schedule organized and going because you've got to constantly be promoting. Then that would be a really good time to start working with an assistant, someone to help you. And really, if you're pushing out tons of books all the time, I mean, how are you going to make more money? How are you going to generate more income? And it's by writing. It's by writing. And if you are handling all of your marketing and advertising tasks, if that is taking too much away from your writing, then it's probably a time to go ahead and get an assistant. You don't always have to have an assistant for everything. We do have authors that have come to us that they want us to just handle everything and they just want to write. But maybe you just want help with your social media organization and management, or newsletter help, or promotions, you know. So being self-aware of what you can do on your own, and if your money is best spent with an assistant versus you doing it, it's kind of a self-evaluation, right? And can you afford to hire an assistant? You know, there's lots of different pricing out there. You know, if you're going to go with a company, someone that's specialized in those areas, or if you're going to go with an assistant that maybe freelances on their own. So just making sure to keep that list, be aware of all of your own needs and what you want out of the relationship, and then moving forward like that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna scroll back up real quick. Susan, you said I'm there and it paralyzes me. I would love for you to elaborate. What scares you so much about working with an author assistant? That's really fascinating. So I would love for you to tell us more about that. And Leslie, you said you would like an assistant, but money is the issue. And so here's a personal story real quick. My husband's stepmom is so sweet, and she talks about us and Aurora often with coworkers and just any of her older friends who maybe thought about writing a book or wrote a book. And so she sent me one of her friends the other day, and her friend, is a first-time author, just put something up during the summer. And she came to me and was asking a million questions about an assistant. And I said, but you're not ready. You're not ready for an assistant for marketing. So we always say, if you don't, and she doesn't have a large budget, she has no budget. And so this kind of ties back into everyone that's saying, I can't afford an assistant right now. Invest in your product. Make sure that you're saving up and you're paying for all of the things that are going to make your product, the best it can be. So, don't design your own cover. Don't, just put it up there without editing, or, if you know formatting, if you don't know formatting, don't format it and put it up. So spend your money on yourself first. And then once everything is the best it can be, then you can start looking at, well, okay, now I can look for an assistant to help me sell it. Because if you pay somebody to market the book or advertise the book, but you haven't done that first step, then you're going to be wasting your time and your money, because readers aren't going to buy it once they get to the sales page. So it's really important that you invest in that first. And then honestly, a lot of authors will come to us with one book, and I'll say, I'm happy to spend your money, but at the same time, I really feel like you should write a few more books before giving it like a big splash for marketing or advertising, because I always refer to it as cold calling. If you have one book out and you're going to spend a lot of money advertising it and promoting it, where do those readers go after that one book? They're going to go to a different author and a different book. So then when you do have another book to release, you have to cold call and basically spend all that money and all that time a second time to try to get those readers back to read the next book. So if you wait until you have a few books out, your money goes farther, because you're going to have organic read through. Readers are going to like the book that they found through your marketing and your advertising efforts. Then they're hopefully going to go back and read all of your other books. So I like to say, 2 is kind of iffy, but if you have 3 books out and you have some kind of budget, you've done that first step and optimized yourself and set yourself up for success, then it's probably a good time to start thinking about your longer term goals. And if you want, sorry, Dawn says no one wants to see a book cover typeset book. I'm tempted to design. Dawn, we've seen so many covers with like a word title and like word font title. It can be really scary, and we get it. You want the book out there, but you only get one first impression. So is it more important? And it depends on your goal. If you just want a book out there to say you're published and it's out there and your family can grab it and your friends can grab it, that is great. Then you've reached success in your, defined by your terms. But if your goal is to make a career out of this, or at least, like a hobby kind of income, then you have to invest in it like a career. And, that's kind of where Aurora's there to help with. So anyways, going back to kind of what I've been hinting at, but it's basically our marketing approach. So, and this is in your handout as well, so no need to take notes, but step 1, is really growth. It's about spending time investing in your book, investing in yourself as an author, branding yourself, working on your platform, and then finding and connecting with those readers. And then once you've done that, you can engage those readers. So step 2 would be engagement. Engage those readers, build a trusting relationship, talk to them through your newsletter, through social media, through any channel that you have access to reach them. And then step 3 is basically selling. So then you spend time nurturing the relationships and you can sell to them. So it's not like cold calling where, you're just shouting, buy my book, and nobody knows you. So it's a lot better. There's a much higher conversion rate if you're selling to basically people who know you, trust you, and like you.
Mhm.
So let's see. Gonna hand it over.
Miss Rachel.
Yes. Sorry, I was answering a Q&A question.
Oh no, you're good.
How do you find your perfect author assistant? And that's probably one of those paralyzing tasks that we think about is, oh, there's no way that I could find somebody who can work with me. And, just like we are of all walks of life here, the same goes for assistants. You want to find someone who meshes well with your personality and with your schedule, with your routine, with your ways, essentially. Every author is different, just like every assistant is different. So you want someone who is excited about your books and excited about the stories you are writing. They say that a lot about those who are trying to find an agent. You want a literary agent who is really excited about your work, because having someone who is not is worse than not having one at all. And so the same goes for assistants. You want someone who knows their stuff, knows your stuff. The ones who are excited about your work and getting it out there because they will be more invested in your success. You want somebody who understands the genre and the market. And this is a question I just answered. You want somebody who is familiar with the market. Like any product, you want to know what the competitors are doing. You want to be able to study that and understand that so that you can mimic what the bestsellers are doing. That is super, super important. So if you get an assistant who has never even touched your genre before, it might not be the best fit because they don't understand a lot of reader expectations, a lot of the genre expectations, what's going around in the market right now. So you definitely want somebody who knows their stuff. You want someone who connects with you and your writing, somebody who is enthusiastic about your success, because if they don't really care if you succeed or not, they're not going to be as invested to do the work right. And connecting with you as a person is important too. If you find someone and your personalities just clash, that is not a great indicator that you will work well together. And again, it's no reflection of their work performance or anything. You might just have personalities that clash. So it's important to get to know your assistant, to figure out how you mesh well together, and if you can work well together, and that kind of thing. You want someone who is honest and direct and straightforward, somebody who won't necessarily sugarcoat things for you. You don't want a yes man. You want someone to be able to point out things that might cause you trouble later down the road. And on the same time, you want to make sure that you are open to those things. As indie authors, we have to develop tough skins early on, right?
Don't be a toddler.
Right, exactly. It's important to make sure that there's open communication on both sides. That both are willing to talk and discuss and work through those things. You want someone who will give you honest feedback on what works and what doesn't work. You want someone who can connect you with the right readers, the right resources, who can help you make those connections. And, as I mentioned before, understanding the market, covers, book descriptions, categories, keywords, understanding where that book fits in, and how it can be up there with the bestsellers, is really one of the best things. Someone asked, if you don't fit a genre, will you connect us with someone else? Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the great things about Aurora is we have a whole team of assistants and they have different experiences and different, they work with different authors and different genres. Many of the assistants have experience with a wide variety of genres. And so that's one of the great things is that we can provide, a wide selection of assistants who know a lot of different areas, as opposed to if you're trying to find a freelance one, they may only have experience with like the fantasy genre or the romance genre, and not necessarily the specific niche that you're looking for. So yes, absolutely. We will work with you to make sure that it's a good fit. And as Samantha said, we will be honest with you. We're not going to try to, rob you blind or anything. We will be honest with you about what fits and what doesn't, and if we think that this is the right place for you. So when looking for any kind of specialty service, so it can be an assistant who does, your marketing tasks, or it can be someone who works with advertising with you, or a publisher or a formatter. It's really important to make sure that they have experience, that they have quality of workmanship that you're looking for. Samantha mentioned the homemade book covers with the word art font. You don't want that level of quality here, because, this is our careers that we're staking here. So you want to make sure that they are professional, that they know what they're doing. And yes, it's more costly services to pay for, but you want to make sure you're getting your money's worth. And so, the less experienced assistants will cost less money, but will they really do the jobs that you need them to do? And will they really do them well? That's the question.
Yeah. And Dawn said, hashtag Canva chaos. That's what we should start calling the book covers that we see sometimes. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Anyways, I was just interjecting there for a sec.
Yes, no, that's absolutely true. It's, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but yes, we judge books by the cover. It is a product. If the product on the outside doesn't look good, people will assume that on the inside it doesn't look good. And so, you only have that one shot at a first impression. So it's so important that you make that count. So best practices for working with an author assistant. I already mentioned a little bit of this, like you want to be open to feedback. So if your assistant says, hey, just pointing this out, I've seen other bestsellers who are doing this and we're doing it this way, just want to make you aware of this. That's totally fine. That's their job, is to be aware of what's going on in the market and with the bestsellers and with, the products like we talked about. And so you want to be flexible and realistic. You can even say, yes, I'm aware of that. We're going to keep doing it this way. And that's fine, because, you are the client, the assistant works for you. But it is their job to be aware of every facet of the product placement and the market and everything going on in the genre. You want to be flexible and realistic. Make sure you have proper time management for new releases. Give your assistant plenty of time to prepare, because they may have other clients, they may have their own work, their own personal lives. Like if you ask them to do something on like a Saturday night, you may want to be a little flexible about what they're doing. But again, open communication. If you know that they're out of town for a weekend, make sure you give them plenty of time, and vice versa. If they know that you're out of town, they should take up a little more slack. So it's a give and a take. We want to make sure that there's open communication. Anyone who is working with rapid release, it will take a little bit to get into the swing of things, to get in the routine. But once you are, you can have like this, well-oiled machine between you and your assistant, where you go back and forth, you hand her what she needs, she hands you what you need, back and forth, back and forth. And somebody mentioned rapid releasing in the chat. I have a client who comes out with a new book every month. I'm not even kidding. Like she just turns them out like a machine. And so you want an assistant that can keep up with that. And so if you are rapid releasing, you want to make sure they can handle those quick tasks and quick turnaround. So it's, you got to make sure they are a good fit for you. And then on the other hand, if you are slower with your publishing timeline, which is fine, we all have different timelines. If you publish maybe one book a year, you want to find somebody who can help you manage that in the meantime and keep up with your marketing, so that, you stay visible with the readers. So you want to make sure that you have somebody who fits that. Open communication. If something isn't working, let them know. Like I said, it's a give and a take. So if they're not responsive enough, or if the quality isn't great, make sure you communicate that first before running over their head, immediately firing them. You want to give them the benefit of the doubt and make sure that they have the opportunity to improve. Your assistant should follow up with you regularly and respond in a timely manner, but also make sure that you're doing the same, that those expectations are stated. I have a few clients who every now and then we have a disconnect where she thinks I'm supposed to read her mind, and I have to say, hey, I can't read your mind. Sometimes we need that quick reminder that communication needs to be there. So that is super, super important. In the chat, somebody says every month, how? I don't know. I don't know at all, but some people do it. Like I said, we all have our different timelines. That is just not in my level of
She
ability.
obviously doesn't take naps.
Right,
I mean,
right.
She gives up the naps and
Exactly.
she
That
writes,
is
turns
that
it
is
out.
something I am not willing to sacrifice.
Right.
So,
No. No.
no.
That's so funny.
And how can you help this relationship go well? You can manage your expectations. Like I said, don't expect them to read your mind. It's great if they can anticipate certain needs. And that is great when you get into a rhythm where the assistant can tell what you need and can do things for you before you ask. That's great. But if you make that an expectation right away before they even know your groove yet, that might be a problem. And so you want to make sure that your expectations are realistic, that you communicate what you need. And if they're getting you what you need when you communicate, that's a good system too. So as long as the communication is there, that is helpful too. Spend time goal setting, analyzing milestones, brainstorm with your assistant. You know, the assistant is somebody who manages the tasks that get in the way of your writing, but they also can be a launch pad for you to get some ideas off of. They know the market, they know the selling side of things. So they can bring you new ideas that might help you. And so you definitely want to take into consideration the things that they can bring to the table as well.
Yeah, and C.S. Sloan says it exactly right. Managing expectations is key.
Yes.
It is a relationship. When it works out, wonderfully, it's a friendship that will carry over many years and hopefully the span of your career. But it's not always, I guess, sunshine and rainbows, with your first assistant, especially if you hire an assistant who's maybe newer or you're trying each other. There's going to be a lot of progress and a lot of failure, and learn from the mistakes and carry that forward. But before you hire an assistant, you should do some homework. You should pull out all the tasks that are the tasks you would want to turn over immediately. Like, what would be the biggest help for you immediately? And then have a secondary list of tasks or things that you're going to grow into with that assistant, things that you're going to turn over eventually, but maybe it's not in the budget or it's not, just the right time. And so having those tasks like ready to go when you're interviewing assistants or looking for a good fit, that's going to help you so much. And the other thing is, know what kind of author you are when you have an assistant. And what that means is there's the hands-on authors where you're working with an assistant, but you want to be included in everything. And there's the hands-off authors who really you just want to turn it over and let your assistant go. Knowing how you're going to work with an assistant is going to help your assistant know how best to work with you. So think about that, because you might be like, oh, I'm going to hand over everything. But then you start to realize, well, it's kind of hard to hand over things. Maybe you're a little more type A, you want to be in the know. And so now you realize, wow, I really kind of want a joint relationship and not just an assistant to kind of take over and run with things. So knowing those things can really help immensely. Let's see. Ask any questions. I mean, you can ask questions about like publishing specifically or marketing specifically. I mean, we're on the call, so use our brains and our experiences. So throw out whatever you want, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about Aurora and how we're structured, since we had a few questions about, can assistants work 3 hours a month, or how do assistants work with authors? So we basically, Aurora, at the heart of Aurora, we have author assistants, and that's like this level. That's an assistant that gets paired with an author. That's their go-to person for administrative, marketing, and all of those fun things, newsletters, social media, all the things we kind of talked about in the administrative and marketing tasks. Then Aurora has the specialty teams. So we have our publishing department, our advertising department, and all, formatting, editing, cover design. So not every author that comes to work with Aurora needs to work with everybody that we have on board. But some authors do. Some authors, like Ashley said, they write the book and they hand it over and they're done. It routes through basically everybody that we have on our team. And some authors are like, they just want to work with our advertising team, or they just want an author assistant. Or they just work with Ashley and her team for publishing tasks and keys and categories and things like that. So That's how Aurora is structured. If you find another company, they might be structured differently. So make sure you ask. There's a lot of author assistants out there, like Ashley said, who are freelance assistants, and they are just a one-person show. So while they probably do a lot of the tasks, they most likely don't do all of them. So make sure you're, talking to them and asking who they've worked with, what they have experience in. Those assistants, the freelancers, are probably going to be cheaper than a company. I think Ashley or Rachel mentioned that. And that's just because they don't have a lot of that specialty knowledge or experience. So, the saying, you get what you pay for, but if all you need is somebody to send out your newsletters and do your social media, you probably only need one assistant like that. If you're looking to really grow your business, turn it into a career, and you want help on all the levels, then you're probably looking for a company like Aurora, although there are others. And in fact, Dawn said, do we work with authors in nonfiction? We actually don't. We will work in nonfiction if an author comes to us first with fiction titles. So our existing clients, if they are like, oh, I wrote a nonfiction, or I'm going to write a nonfiction, then we can help support it. But we do have great friends in this industry that do nonfiction. And so we usually refer that out. So I know Brian Burney is a longtime friend of Alexa's and the Write Publish Sell group, and he runs Amazon ads for a lot of nonfiction authors. So I usually send his name out. Novel Publicity is run by Melissa Storm. That's another one kind of similar to Aurora, but I think they do nonfiction. So, like I said, we collaborate. If we're not the best fit for you, then we're not going to just, work with you, because we have no contracts, and really the authors that have been with us for 2, 5, 7 years, they stay with us because we do, good by them. So we wouldn't be doing our due diligence, or we wouldn't be helping you if we took on, nonfiction when that's not our strong suit. So that's kind of answering that. Let's see. Ashley, do you see any questions?
I dropped one in there from Liliana on Facebook, but it might have gotten lost in the chat. So she wants to know if you write in 3 different categories. So she does children's books, YA and NA, but mostly fantasy and sci-fi. So
yes. Liliana, so I adore you, and I always tell authors to write what's in your heart. But when you come at that from a marketing standpoint, it is really hard to build an audience when you write in multiple genres. So I always say, if you're going to work with a team and you're going to pay, big bucks and try to grow your audience, to pick a genre or a subgenre and stay in your lane. And that just means focus on it for a length of time, build it up, and then you can try to introduce those readers to, something else that you write. But if you're putting out a sci-fi, and then you're putting out a children's book, and then you're switching to fantasy, you're never going to be able to scale in a timely manner. You'll get there, but it's going to take you 3 times as long, and it's a lot harder of a mountain to climb when you write across the genres. So write what's in your heart, but if you're going to work with an assistant, really think about what you could focus in and try to stay there for just a length of time.
I do want to jump in there. It is also possible to do it with pen names. I have several authors that I work for who have different pen names for different genres. So if that's the question, if you say, if I have a fantasy pen name and a romance pen name, can you work with both? Then the answer is absolutely. And that's part of why our assistants are so versatile with different genres, is because we have clients who do that, who write in different genres and different pen names. And so, our assistants have experience with lots of different genres, and most likely have experience with whatever genres you work with. So if I have a thriller author and a romance author and a fantasy author, I'm getting experience for all of that. So if I come across a client who has a thriller pen name and a fantasy pen name and a romance pen name, then I can absolutely work with them because I have that experience. So if that's anyone's question, then yes, absolutely, we can work with pen names too.
Yes. And pen names, so pen names were so popular. Everybody had a pen name, I feel like, a few years ago. And now it's becoming more popular to publish everything under one name. But that makes it easier in some ways and harder in others. So you have to really consider if you want to go that route. If you're going to be a big spender on ads and you invest heavily in Facebook ads, but more so in Amazon ads, having separate pen names for the separate genres is going to be beneficial for you because Amazon has an algorithm. And so it ties together your also bots and your comp authors and all of these things. So if you write in young adult, but you're trying to advertise, you know, I don't know, clean romance, and your young adult is spicy and you're advertising the clean romance, but people bought your young adult recently, and so you're compared to all these young adult authors, it's gonna mess up everything and you're gonna have a hard time advertising. So that is one area where I really do like pen names if you're gonna be a big spender with ads. Let's see. Louise says, are assistants hired for specific time frames? You have to ask the assistant specifically because everybody's different. Some do month contracts where you just like pay a lump sum and then they just work for you over the whole month. How Aurora does it is we are hourly, and everybody within Aurora pulls from the same like pool of hours. So an author will come to us and say, okay, I want, 10 hours for the month or 20 hours for the month. And then let's say they're doing ads and publishing and assistant work. Everybody will pull what they need out of that time. And that's kind of how, it gets divided out for us. Some people, other assistants have packages, if you want a newsletter package or social media package. So there are packages, there are hourly, and then there are like monthly, 3-month contracts or 6 months or something. So just make sure you're asking and be prepared to commit if the company or the assistant is asking for that.
Yeah, I do want to hit on something. I saw Dawn put this comment up here a little bit ago. It's been a minute, but I wanted to come back to it. She said, you have to judge by the cover. You can sell a bad product in a great cover, but you can't sell a great product in bad packaging. And that's true. This kind of goes back to, I kind of call some of the freelance assistants like a jack of all trades, type of position. But in paying for a company that has specialists, you're paying for someone that's what they live and breathe every single day. They're able to keep up on all of the new things that are coming out, the new laws, the new policies with the different platforms, and able to help you to target better for your books. It's important that you have someone that knows about all of these things. I have had multiple clients that come to us for publishing, and they're just coming to us for publishing. And something that I always do is I go through their books prior to, because yes, they're only paying us to put them up on a retailer, but if the book and the product isn't good, I want to do my due diligence and let them know and give them good feedback. And we've had a lot of books come through where they've tried to either format themselves or they've had someone else do it, and there's multiple issues, and so pay for the services that you really need help on.
Quality.
That's for quality work. A quality cover where the cover is not just something that you fall in love with it because it's really great, but it's something that's targeted actually to your genre for your audience. Formatting that fits the audience. The front and back matter. They matter. It says it right in the name. So that's your free marketing to your readers, right? And if that's optimized properly as well, if it's not something that the reader expects, they're going to let you know. Readers can be really brutal sometimes, and that's something that's very easy to fix.
Good reads.
Seriously, right? So, and that's why we always say don't we won't always take a client, Sam will talk with them and say,
I'm pretty picky.
you're ready.
Yeah, we're pretty selective. And that's because half the time, like I said, I tell them they're not ready, save up your time. I had a client, I had a consult that was supposed to be today that was rescheduled from May because I told her she was not ready in May. So then I emailed her this morning and said, just checking in, have you made some progress? And she said, oh, I'm not as far along as I had hoped. Let's push our call to November. So literally almost a full year before I'm going to probably work with this author, and that's okay. You take your time, you get ready. We don't want you to spend money if it's not necessary or it's not going to move you forward. Yes, you could hire an assistant today with us or anybody to start helping you on social media or to, I don't know, brand your newsletter. But the thing is, administrative and marketing tasks, that is a long-term strategy. That is going to help you. Yeah, that is going to help you build your career and see the fruits of your labor, 6 months or a year or 5 years down the line. That is not going to give you money in your pocket today. That's going to basically dig a hole, which we call an investment. But, it's going to move the needle later. So you have to think about that. Are you ready to invest now to see, that profit later? Or do you need to spend more time building up your catalog and writing? Because that's the most important thing. Like Ashley said, you have to write the book. We can't, we're not ghostwriters. We're not writing the book for you. The only thing that I will say is if you have a budget, you really want to put some effort behind whatever book is releasing soon or the books that you have out. Really look at advertising, because advertising is going to have a short-term effect, whether positive or negative, hopefully positive if done right and you've hired a good, advertising team. But that's where it's going to help to get those readers buying right now. So maybe you want to start with advertising, write more books, and then bring in that assistant later. However you do it, just, look for the, like Ashley said, look for the quality, because it's so important. And especially when publishing and doing your keys and cats, Ashley's team does that every day. And it changes every day almost.
It's not easy to really optimize and target your books well. It takes a lot of research. I love Dave Chesham. I follow him a lot. I can't wait to meet him in a couple weeks. I'm super excited about that because we'll be at NINC in a couple weeks, and I'm super pumped. I'm buying that man a drink, I'm telling you. And he has a great product with Kindle Rocket, but you also have to know how to utilize that and how to research properly for that too. So make sure that you're spending your money the right way. And I know we're getting close on time here, but what Sam was just saying goes back to the 3 steps for marketing: your growth, your engagement, and your sales. Make sure your platform is built properly. Because if you come to us and say, hey, I've put out 30 books, I can't make any traction. Well, maybe you didn't really, maybe your platform isn't the best. Maybe you don't have the groundwork to continue. You had quick sales, you were able to put out a lot of products, but now we need to go back to the basics and build on those and make them better so that you can have that long-term author career that we want for you. So.
Yep. One more question, try to get them in real quick. So they said, do you have a list of good interview questions for a marketing team interview? That's a great idea. I think
we should do that for sure.
We will put together that. I'm trying to think how we would get it out to you. We could always send it to Alexa and she could send it out, or we can post it on Facebook. But basically, do the homework that I said. Figure out what type of author you are. Hands on, hands off. We did supply a master list of assistant tasks broken down by like assistants and departments. So go through, print it out, go through, highlight, like I said, your priority tasks. What would you want to hand over now? Then go through, highlight in a different color the tasks that you'd like to get to a point where you can hand those over. Then when you're interviewing, ask what the commitment is. I always ask that because you don't want to be locked in for 6 months if you've never used an assistant and you like that's, I mean, that's scary to me because what if the relationship isn't for you? So what kind of commitment would you be getting into? The cost, you know, I would definitely focus on those specialty tasks if you're looking for those, and finding out what their experience is in those, because like we've said it over and over, that changes so quickly in the industry. So if it's not a task that they do very frequently, then it's probably outdated by this point. So make sure you're asking questions like that. And then, you know, ask what authors have they worked with? What genre did they like? Is there a genre they don't like? Mistakes happen. We are all human. So I always like to ask when we hire assistants, we always like to ask, you know, I think it was a scenario, right, Ashley? It's like basically, you know, if your author had a promo and you dropped the ball on the promo and it didn't go out, how would you handle that? Like, obviously you dropped the ball. So, you know, knowing how that they communicate their mistakes, that they are open and honest about their mistakes and don't try to cover them up. You know, things like that are really important. So, we could probably take our interview questions.
I was just thinking that.
And then put that together for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, you know, it's basically what's their communication style versus your communication style. How did they resolve issues? Kind of the same interview questions that you might have in other industries. How would you resolve an issue that you're having, right? How do you go about that? If it's someone that, you know, is a little more feisty and that's not your style, you might not want to work with them.
Yeah. So phone,
you know?
Yeah. So we always joke because Ashley is very much a phone communicator. Or video. She always sends me messages and she'd be like, let's hop on a call. And I always roll my eyes because I am not a phone or like video communicator. I want an email or a message or a text.
See, and I roll my eyes at her because I feel very strongly that you can be much more efficient and get your point across via video in a quick chat rather than in text message.
I know. But I'm usually doing like 10 things. So like for me to stop and focus, I'm a good multitasker. Ashley has to like focus. So yeah, so there's just differences, right? So like Ashley and I still work well together, but we're not each other's assistant where it's everyday communication. So you need to find out if your assistant only wants you to talk to them on Facebook Messenger, then maybe that's not going to work for you if you do want to have a phone call or a video call. So communication is so important. Michelle, don't you side with Ashley?
Oh no, she's my buddy.
Don't worry, you've got some on your side, Samantha.
Oh, good.
I'm team Samantha on this one.
Team Samantha.
So we get on a call. I'm like, no, God, no, not a call, because I know I'll be there forever because I can't stop talking.
Right?
Yeah. No,
So,
I'm a on the fly communicator. Like I just want to be doing it while I'm doing something else. But real quick, I know we are leaving, but if any of you are going to be at NINC in Florida in late September, Ashley and I will be there. Aurora Publicity is sponsoring the welcome and check-in. So we're very excited for that. And we're going to be doing a lot of fun things at that resort and on that beach. So
yeah.
It's NINC.com,
come have a
right? The novel, the professional. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's yes, it's definitely sold out now, but if you're already attending, it's sold out. I know, Alexa, you should go next year. We want to speak there, so you should come. But
right. Well, I couldn't go that weekend. That's why I didn't buy a ticket.
Yeah, we would love to have a drink with you on the beach. I mean,
I would love to do that too. Trust me, if I could go, I may just drive down there anyway. Be like, let's have drinks.
You should. All the networking. So we have not been. This is our first year attending, but we hear amazing things. A lot of our clients go, so we're going to get to meet a lot of our authors in person.
So exciting.
And they said, you know, the conference is phenomenal, but it's all of the after hours networking and the dinners, and things like that. So Alexa, if it's not too far from you, you should just pop over and we'll have a drink.
Well, on that note, it's not related to what we're talking about here. Well, it is directly related to what we're talking about right now. That's kind of the thing with conferences in general. I mean, it's the connections that you make, the conversations that you have. I have learned more in 3 days live with people, just having sidebar conversations and being introduced to people and tools they use and all those kinds of things. So a conference, I encourage everybody to attend at least one live writers or publishing or trade conference every year. And all of the booksellers associations have regional associations as well.
Yeah.
And one of the ones that I learned so much from as an author was the SIBO, which is the Southeastern Booksellers Association conference, because you're literally hearing from booksellers on what they want to sell your books and readers and all this kind of stuff, but all those types of things. So anyway, this was fantastic. I really, I just jived with the two of you the first time we had our first conversation. I love what you're doing. I feel like we're very much on the same page and in the same, and I don't know if you saw me or not, but I was shaking my head a lot with everything you were saying, because we see this too. And I want to, I want to piggyback on just one thing that was the common thread throughout this. And that is, if you don't have good writing that's ready for the world, nothing else matters. I mean, obviously good writing plus the full good package. And it's really bad. I get a lot of people who come to me for marketing consults, and I look at their book and I just have to end, they're like, so what do we do next? And I'm like, well, actually, before we can do anything else, I recommend you go to this cover designer and get a redo. And I recommend you run your book through editing one more time. And that description, oh, wow. What is your book even about? I try to be as nice as I can, but start at the basics and the fundamentals. But you all do some of that as well too. The cover, when you're looking at the long-term PA and marketing stuff, that's where you said, wait until you're ready, but you also can help with the initial production of the book, if that's all someone needs.
Yeah, we have a design team, and typically we will start and our designer will do a cover analysis where they go spend time looking at the author's cover compared to the comp authors who's currently selling in the marketplace. And then they'll offer suggestions. And then that author is welcome to use our designer, or they can go use whatever designer they want. And so it doesn't matter. But yeah, if we feel like the cover is not going to sell the book, then we can't really move past that. I mean, you can throw a lot of money at it, but it's not going to get you very far. I have one quick question. I think Rachel answered it, but one thing we did not say is we do hire author assistants. So if anybody is looking to join our team and work with us on the assistant side of things, then we are hiring, because many of our clients said, get ready for NINC. You're going to have an influx. So we are actively hiring at this time. And if that sounds like something you would enjoy, there's a tab on our website, which I can link there. But yeah, you can find out more about that.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it.
Well, this has been phenomenal. And I can't thank you all enough for helping us by sponsoring this conference and this program, so that we can continue to provide these webinars and this training and education, because I truly believe that, the very cliche but so true statement that knowledge is power. And if I had known half of what is available to know now when I started, I could have saved myself years of my life and thousands and thousands of dollars. So
yeah. That's what we say. We're not a publisher, but we help you to get self-published in the way that's going to set you up for marketing success.
Exactly.
So we, like Ashley said, and Alexa, you're a big advocate for authors, and so are we. That's what's important for us. And that's pretty much why we exist. So
I love it. We've just created a new title, author advocate.
Author advocate. Oh, and what was the other one? Sanity saver. Sanity saver.
I love that, and we're using that. We're totally stealing that.
Yeah.
I just want to let everybody know. We will. I'm just linking that sheet again for everybody in case you got it lost in the list. And on there, you know, it just goes over the brief points of everything that we discussed today, you know, our marketing strategy for grow, engage, and sell. And then Samantha and I actually own Lit Ring, which is a book promotions and builder company as well. And we've got a little coupon code down there for you guys if you want to check out the different promotions that we have running in the next couple months. You would get $5 off with
and that can be for nonfiction too. So that's
Absolutely.
nonfiction, children's, and regular fiction. And here's the link for joining our team if you are interested. And yeah, I think that's a wrap. We could honestly talk about this all day. So
we could very easily.
Don't ask us any other questions because we'll be on here for another hour.
Dawn's at home. Dawn wants to just stay on with us for another hour. She's ready. We should just pull her up and just have a chat.
I'm good for it. Well,
you ladies
Dawn,
feel like I'm home. Thank you, Dawn.
Yeah. Well, and I always say the best compliment we've ever received from a client is they said that when they've been with us for just over 2 years now, that it was like joining a family. And that's really what I've tried to build and what I think we've built. So we love it. And Dawn, I forget, and Alexa can correct me, but I think November 23rd or something, we're going to be back on for a BookBub webinar. And we're going to talk all about BookBub. And so that's going to be really exciting about how to get started with it, how to do ads for it. So you can come hang out with us again. We're not done.
That's right. All right. Well, thanks, ladies. I appreciate this so much. And I hope, I just want to say good luck to you with 2-year-olds going into the real cold and flu season.
I know.
As we get ready.
I was like, I cannot get sick again before NINC. If I can't go to NINC, I'm going to sell them kids. That's what I'm going to do.
I cannot go by myself. I need a buddy. She's coming.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Be sure to go over to womeninpublishingsummit.com/events and check out all of our things. Also, over on the Women in Publishing Summit page, you can still click on the 2022 sponsors. And actually, there's a form right over there, too. If you missed the link or whatever, you can always go over there. And we still have Aurora's form for filling out marketing support up on the website. And we will be sending out an email within 24 hours that has the links. So don't panic if you missed anything, all the stuff that we talked about and the recording. And it will also be, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, which is still under the other company name, Write, Publish, Sell, you can go subscribe over there and you'll see all the webinars as soon as they're ready to be posted. So thank you so much. Have a great day. I'm so jealous that I won't be with you guys in NINC. Speaking of FOMO, like now, and of course they're sold out. So
let's plan it for next year. It's never too early.
Put it on the calendar.
We will.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.